Good morning, this is Geography Jen, and here we are today. We're in Attleborough, which is in Norfolk, and we have come to visit a forest school. The reason we've come here is to have a look at a very special type of toilet they have here. This is called a dry composting toilet, and it's an example of a sustainable feature. So the word sustainable is all about trying to preserve the planet for future generations. So it's about not wasting resources, not burning lots of fossil fuels because then there'll be none left for future generations, not cutting down the trees and the woodlands which are the habitats for many animals, but also it's about not wasting things. So here I've brought a bottle of water. This is 1 litre of water. When you flush the toilet at home, it uses 7 litres of water to flush the toilet. That water has been purified, so it's quite expensive using all that water to flush a toilet. So, for example, when you flush the toilet at home, all of the waste goes down through a sewage pipe and it goes to a sewage treatment works. And when it's there, what they have to do is remove all the big things out of it, things like wet wipes that people shouldn't be putting down the toilets in the first place. Then they have to put it into a special tank to let all the poo, or the solid waste, they call that sludge, let it all sink to the bottom. Then they have to move it to another tank where they have to put chemicals in it to make sure the water is clean enough for them then to put that back into the river. Now, as you can imagine, that's a really expensive process, and it also uses a lot of energy, so it's not particularly sustainable. So one thing we could think about is how can we try not to use 7 litres of water when we're flushing the toilet? And one sustainable measure is what you can see behind me, which is called a dry composting toilet. So I'm going to ask the manager of Forest School, who's called Joe, to answer a few questions about how it works, and I'm going to show you what it looks like inside. Okay? Good morning, Joe.
Good morning.
Joe, could you possibly tell me, why did you decide to put in a composting toilet?
Yes, so we have about 100 children a week come through Forest School, so they need somewhere to go to the loo. They need somewhere to do their wees and their poos. We were previously using a little camping toilet. The camping toilet used chemicals inside it to keep it from smelling. And chemicals, you can't empty them onto the ground because ecologically speaking, that's really bad news. So we decided we needed a better solution, and the better solution was using a dry composting toilet. And that's what you can see here beside you.
Can you tell me, was it more expensive than having a normal toilet?
Well, I would say that it wasn't more expensive than having a normal toilet in our situation, because we didn't need to get water from the mains piped in to the Forest School site, because we don't have any mains water here, we don't have any taps. So we would have had to get the water piped all the way through to here, which would have been really expensive. So my answer to that would probably be no, it wasn't more expensive than a regular toilet.
And can you tell us, Joe, whereabouts does the wee and poo go in the toilet? Can we have a look?
I can tell you, and you can definitely have a look. So, in our composting toilet, it looks very much like a regular toilet, okay? So, in the pan here, we have what's called a separator. So the separator separates the liquid waste, so the wee goes down there, and the solid waste, so the poo goes into there. So when you're actually using the toilet, you just sit on it like a regular toilet and go. So I'll pop that seat down. And where is it going to go, you're wondering? Where does it go? Oh, I shall show you. So around the back of our composting toilet, we've got pipes that go from the sink and pipes that go from the separator, the urine part, the liquid part. And under here is 12 layers of soak away. So it's layers of stone, charcoal, sawdust, and they're all in layers in a big basket to hold the sides of so that the mud from the sides doesn't fall down into it. And the urine and the wastewater from hand washing soaks away there and soaks through all the soak away and into the land, so we don't have any smells from that. So the poo is tucked away in here, and it goes in here. So this is a bucket with a compostable bag in it, and then each time we've had a session we use sawdust and pop the sawdust on there. The sawdust goes in there to stop the smells and to help the process of the composting. And when it's full, we just take the whole composting bag and pop it into a separate composting heap.
Thank you for that, Jo. And a big question is, doesn't it smell horrible? If you don't have to flush the toilet, isn't it really stinky?
That is a good question, and the answer to that is that it doesn't smell, it's not stinky. The reason why it's not stinky is quite happily described on the wall here. So it says about how we've talked about how the liquid and solid waste is separated, but instead of the water, we use the sawdust. We add it in, and this means that the carbon is binding with the nitrogen in the urine and the faeces, and this neutralises the odours. So as well as helping with the composting process by anaerobic decomposition, it also helps avoid the smells. And it does work. It doesn't smell.
I can tell you it doesn't smell after just walking in there. Finally, do you use the poo for anything else? Do you use it as a fertiliser?
You can use the poo once it's composted as a fertiliser. It takes about a year to break down completely, and it isn't only the poo. The poo goes in the bag with toilet roll and the sawdust, as I'd mentioned. Nothing else can go in, so anything like baby wipes or anything like that will completely ruin the process. Just the sawdust and the poo, so people stuff, and then you layer it with things like shredded paper, old leaves, grass cuttings, things like that, and that helps the decomposition process. So after a year, when it's all broken down into lovely compost, you can use it on your veggies.
Okay, thank you so much for telling us all about a dry composting toilet, Jo.